Alright guys, that's it. That was Super Spirit X. Now let's move on to the villains. So I actually made 3 super villain teams, well actually 4. The first one that I'm going to show you guys is the super villain team that's part of the Race Saviors. They're actually villains for the Race Saviors. And the super villain team that I'm going to introduce to you guys is the Evil 5. So first I'm going to go ahead and introduce the characters, show you guys the powers and abilities that they have, and of course where did I get the ideas from, and of course the origin story. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the Evil 5. Alright, so the first character that I'm going to introduce is probably my favorite one of all time. He's actually the leader of the Evil 5. This character, Master Kill. Now, I don't know if I can say that word multiple times. I think I might say it once, but I'm going to try to be careful to mention a little bit about him, and also his origin story is crazy. But anyways, his superpower, he has the ability to not die, kind of like Deadpool. And you can see, like, he's a half human, half skeleton. Like, whenever his bone breaks off, like, he can, like, reattach it. And, like, whenever his human arm gets, like, sliced off, he can grow it back, like, regenerate, kind of like a lizard. And his real name is Nicholas Blake. And the origin story that I'm going to tell you guys about this character is going to really blow your mind, and it's crazy. This is my drawing of Master Kill that I drew in my journal. It looks pretty sick. Again, I'm not that good at drawing, but this is what I got. Next character is this character, Blood. Now, Blood doesn't really have any superpowers, but he's more like a watery, bloody creature. He's a little bit kind of like the Sandman, where like the Sandman is made out of sand, and he can like make like a whole flood of like sand. And I will explain his origin story in a minute, and he doesn't have a real name. This is Blood that I drew in my journal. It looks pretty cool. Next character is this character, Paintball. This one is probably my second favorite, and I'm not going to show you guys his real name because the origin story is very crazy and it's going to blow your mind. But of course, these are his superpowers right here, and you try to take a good guess of what other superhero has those powers. This is a drawing of Paintball that I drew in my journal. It looks pretty cool. Next character that's part of the Evil 5 is this character, the Mouse. Now, he doesn't have superpowers, but his real name is Phil Rogers, and I will explain his origin story in a minute. This is my drawing of the mouse that I drew in my journal. It looks pretty cool. Last character of the Evil 5 is this character, Claus. Now, his superpowers are obviously the same as Werewolf, and of course, the origin story is going to be twisted. And here's my drawing of Claus that I drew in my journal. It looks alright. Alright, now that I'm done showing you guys the characters, let me go ahead and tell you guys where I got the ideas from. First character is Master Kill. What inspired me to create this character? Michael Myers honestly is one of my favorite slashers of all time. That's the character that inspired me to create Master Kill. But the other character that inspired me to create this character was William Afton, aka the Yellow Rabbit, aka Springtrap from Five Nights at Freddy's. Or aka he's called Purple Guy. And also the powers that Master Kill has, where he regenerates, where he literally cannot die at all. That idea was from Deadpool. And also this character, Master Kill, I describe him as a evil version of Deadpool. Next character is this character, Blood. What inspired me to create this character? The first inspiration was Sandman from Spider-Man 3. And then it was also the water character from Spider-Man Far From Home. Those are basically the two characters that inspired me to create this character, Blood. Next character is this character, Paintball. So what really inspired me was that one day, like a few Christmas years ago, like I think it was like 2023 or something, I actually got like paintball guns. Like it's the ones like where it has like Orbeez that actually come out, and then they also came with like these paintball mask. The mask and the paintball gun, that's what inspired me to create this character, Paintball. Next character is this character, the Mouse. So what inspired me to create this character was the lizard from the Amazing Spider-Man movie with Andrew Garfield. Alright, last but not least is this character, Claus. What inspired me was, of course, Abomination from the Hulk, where when I was creating Werewolf for the Race Saviors, I wanted to create another wolf character that he would fight, which is this one, Claus. And what inspired me to name the team the Evil 5 was the Sinister Six from Spider-Man. But instead of 6 villains, I decided to do 5 because that was all I had. But alright, that was it. I'm done showing you guys the characters and where I got the ideas from. Now it's time for me to give you guys the origin story. Alright, so first off, let's go ahead and start off with the origin story of Master Kill. Now, of course, Nicholas Blake, or aka Master Kill, he was a serial killer from the 80s or the 90s. He started his rampage all the way back in middle school when he was in 7th grade. He ended up taking down 7 students at his middle school. And another crazy plot twist, he also took down his little brother. I'll explain the origin story in a minute. He also ends up taking down 5 high schoolers when he goes to high school. He took down his own principal and a teacher. So of course, when you add that up, that's 15 total. That's like 15 people that he took down. But here's the thing though about Master Kill. When he goes on a rampage, he paints his hands hands like into a skeleton hand, and he also paints his face into a skeleton. And usually he'll like wipe off the half side of the skeleton painted face, and then only like half of his human face is showing, and then half of his face is painted. The main reason why he took down and why he's hurting people is because of his mental illness. It's actually his anxiety. His anxiety is possessing him. His anxiety is controlling him. It's because he's suffering from a lot of pain, anxiety, and obviously the reason why he took down those students was because those students bullied him. Like, he was just like a sick, crazy person. And he also hears voices in his head, which is the reason why he's gone so evil. But okay, here's another crazy plot twist that is gonna blow your minds. So you guys know my superhero character, Light, who is part of the Ray Saviors? Her real name is Gabriella Blake. Nicholas Blake is actually her uncle. Light is actually the niece of Master Kill. Master Kill is her uncle. And also another thing though, Asylum, he's the leader of the Ray Saviors. He wants revenge on Nicholas Blake because he took away his parents. Asylum, he really wants revenge on Master Kill because Master Kill took away his parents. But here's kind of the real origin story about this character. Nicholas Blake has an older brother named Chris Blake and an older sister named Michelle Blake. And then there's another character that's also part of the story named Layla Urban, who is Chris Blake's girlfriend. Which, by the way, Chris Blake and Layla Urban, they are the parents of Light. Chris Blake is obviously the father of Light. But yeah, these three characters, Chris Blake, Michelle Blake, and Layla Urban, they're both the main characters of this story. When they find out that Nicholas Blake is the one behind all of this, going out hurting people, they try to stop him. And then Nicholas Blake tried to attack them all. And this all happened when they were in high school. But here's also kind of the origin story of how Master Kill got his powers. The anxiety character that's possessing him, that's controlling him to do evil things, the anxiety ended up putting some like super serum needle inside of him that gave him the ability to not die. So while Nicholas Blake went out to go hurt Chris and the other friends, as soon as he was about to end Chris, Nicholas Blake was set on fire, and like half of his whole body was on fire and he started burning. And so Chris, Michelle, and Layla, they decided to leave him behind and let him kind of die. But then about 20 or 30 years later, he's back. But this time half of his whole body is a skeleton. But here's also another crazy plot twist though. Vincent Walter, the villain that I showed in the Pirate Penguins, Master Kill is actually working with him. And Vincent Walter ends up raising him like a son. And then Vincent Walter told Nicholas Blake to go out to the city where the Ray Saviors live to like end them. And I'm not going to show you what Vincent Walter's real villain name is. I'll show you guys that in a minute. And also another thing real quick, Master Kill, he originally was going to be a villain for the Pirate Penguins, but I decided to make him a villain for the Ray Saviors. Also, here's a famous line that I made for him that he says, "I never die." What inspired me to make that was, of course, William Afton from Five Nights at Freddy's, where he says, "I always come back." So yeah, that's the origin story about my character, Master Kill. Let's move on to the next character. Next character is my character, Blood. And here's kind of the origin story of where he comes from. He came from one of the Ray Saviors' blood. One time in a science class, one of the Ray Saviors accidentally cut their finger, and then their blood accidentally got dropped into the bottle of some science chemical. And then Blood was born. Next character is my character, Mouse. So Mouse was obviously a human character named Phil Rogers. Phil Rogers is actually Jack Rock's best friend, aka Asylum's best friend. And a big reason why Phil decided to turn evil is because he's really sick and tired of how the world treats him, and he's tired of what the world is doing. And he's also tired of Asylum talking about God and Jesus. And so Phil, he ends up taking mouse DNA and puts it inside of him, and he turns into a giant mouse. Next character is my character, Claus. Now, Claus is not a human that turns into a werewolf. But the story about Claus was actually just a regular wolf from the wild. And Master Kill ended up kidnapping that wolf. And Master Kill put some super serum inside of that wolf, and the wolf turned into a big, giant Wolfman character. Alright, next character that I saved for last is Paintball. And his backstory is definitely gonna make you mind blown. Paintball is actually an evil version of Asylum from a different universe. Here's the story about Paintball. In Paintball's universe, the Ray Saviors are dead. And of course, what inspired me to make this story was, of course, the last Ronin Ninja Turtle story, and a little bit of the Joker, too. But again, here's the story about Paintball. So the biggest reason why Asylum ended up turning evil and why he turned into Paintball in this universe was because his anxiety is also possessing him. He starts hearing voices in his head that basically the voices are telling him that this is all your fault. You're the reason why you let your team die. And the whole team, all the race saviors, were actually unalived and took down by Paintball Asylum. The main reason why Asylum ended up turning evil and why he started going dark was because of what he was suffering from and what he's going through. And Paintball, aka Asylum, he ends up turning his hair green, and his eyes also turn green, and his lightning also turns green. And also, again, Paintball has the same powers as Asylum. And also in the story, Paintball ends up leaving his universe and then goes to the universe where the good Asylum is, where he's gonna fight that Asylum, which is the good version. But alright guys, that was the Evil 5. Now let's move on to the next villain team.